All right. Hey guys, how's everyone doing? Looks like we've had some people here for a little bit, hanging out and waiting. I appreciate that. If we can get just a quick sound check, make sure everything is coming through the way we would want it to, both visually and auditorially or whatever, that'd be cool. Appreciate getting just a quick check on that. Let's see. We should be on. Also, I changed things to ultra low latency this time. Cool. Vaz is saying we're good. I appreciate that. So I switched everything, or I switched this stream to the ultra low latency setting. We'd kind of talked about that in previous live streams. Even with the low latency, there's still like a 30-second delay, and that causes a little bit of a disconnect from time to time. And I was trying to avoid that. So hopefully you guys will get less of a delay between like what you guys are typing in the chat and what I am responding to, that sort of thing. Matto is here. Glad to have you here. He's the developer of the application that we're going to take a look at here in a little bit. Before we get into that, of course, we're just going to hang out and settle for a little bit so that so we can make sure that people are here. So we'll have to do a little less repeating of ourselves later on as we go. Sorry, just making sure that all of those notifications are turned off. So let's scroll back up a little bit, see who all we've got here. We got Vaz was here early this morning, almost a full hour ago. Peter from Montreal was also here pretty early. Mr. Grey Wolf here about 15 minutes ago. That's awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining early. Jason Budney, Randy, and of course Matto is here. Glad to have you guys all here hanging out on your Saturday. I don't know how it works in the rest of the world, but at least in the U.S. Today is Valentine's Day. So if you are hanging out, I appreciate it. It's been kind of a crap week, if I'm being honest, and I wasn't even sure if I was going to mentally be up to doing this live stream today, not because of the topic, but just in general. My mental health hasn't been great, so I'm trying to work through that, and I'm hoping that hanging out with you guys for a little while will help me continue to thwart the nonsense that my brain is trying to do to itself. So Quiet Association has joined. Glad to have you here. Always glad to see some familiar faces as we've kind of gone through talking about everybody who's here. So yeah, that's kind of where things are at the moment. Some other stuff. Frog Wizard, thank you. Geeky Dad 007, thank you so much for hanging out today a little bit, or for a little while at least. We've talked a little bit over the last however long about my YouTube content consumption is very, very little self-hosting related stuff. Because of my own reasons, I don't want to accidentally copy somebody else's video, even unintentionally. So I don't watch a lot of self-hosting content on my downtime or whatever. But something as a result of that, one of the content creators that I do watch, for some reason I'm still trying to work out why, if I'm being completely honest, is Atozi. In fact, if we switch over to here, this is Atozi's channel, and he just does all kinds of stuff going on around the world. A lot of it anyway is content creator drama, which I'm not usually a huge fan of, but the way he presents, I appreciate. And one of the videos that popped up yesterday was this guy. This gentleman in the top row in the middle with his arms out. Everybody knows who he is. He gained a lot of popularity during COVID. His content was a lot of just like, here's the simple way to do it. And just never really I don't think there's any talking in his videos, but he would respond to somebody doing something stupid with the simpler way. And he built his empire on that kind of content. It worked out really well for him. It made people smile when it was getting harder to do that. So here recently, as the title here says, this TikToker, $975 million deal is very suspicious, right? So I watched that video, as you can tell by the red bar that's under it. The reason I bring this up is because of what the deal is a company offered him a whole ton of stocks that were then valued at this ridiculous number, to basically buy his likeness for like 3 years so that they could effectively recreate him as an AI so that he can be constantly 24 hours a day online selling stuff. And that's weird, right? Like, that just doesn't make sense. Apparently it's a huge, a multi-billion dollar industry over in China, Hong Kong, the surrounding areas. And I only bring that up because, yesterday I received an email, from this, palup.ai organization. And basically it's like, hey, really appreciate how this video, it's a very generic AI written email saying, here's a video we watched and we like how you covered this part of it. I didn't really cover anything other than like, here's what's running in this big box behind me. So I did some research on them, and it's palup.ai. And I'm only bringing this up because we've had a lot of conversation about AI here on the channel. Basically, the idea is you link, as a creator, I would link my social medias to it, share my unique URL to this platform. And then the idea is that if you guys had questions about things, the AI version of myself would then chat with you, to help you resolve your issues, answer your questions, that sort of thing. And I get a lot of weird AI related emails, but I really think this is probably the weirdest AI email I've had in a really long time. Basically the idea is that I would set up this platform and then it would actively make money for me in the background, by you guys, joining and paying them to interact with an AI version of me. I have no intention of doing this. I'm only bringing this up because this is the kind of nonsense that inundates my email, lately, is just this new weird thing going on in the world. And it makes me sad that people are reaching out for a connection with AI in such a way that and it's not just AI, it's social media in general, it's screens in general, we're looking for, as a species, we're spending so much of our time staring at screens and looking for interactions on now this AI stuff, rather than talking to people, because AI is always going to be more affirmative, reassuring, those sorts of things, beneficial or not. AI is programmed to help you build your own echo chamber effectively, with your thoughts, your ideas, your whatever. AI is always going to be like, yeah, that's a great idea, you should do that, even if it's obviously not a great idea. And it concerns me that this is where we're headed as society, is that we would rather look for an AI personality to chat with rather than chatting with other actual people. And it's gotten harder and harder and harder over the past several years to determine, what's an actual interaction versus what is a programmed interaction, whether it's a bot or an AI or whatever. And it's actually really concerning to me that that this is where we are. And that sucks. I've fairly transparent, I think, in that, yes, I use AI to help me do certain things, fix scripts, make my scripts more interesting, help me write code, those sorts of things. But never something that I've released into the general public in such a way that, that would interfere with somebody's life. But I wanted to bring that up. That these are the kinds of emails that I'm getting these days. Is like, hey, let's effectively clone you to some degree, so that people can talk to you, and that weirds me out. Ryan McHale says, but is AI David more helpful than non-AI David? Probably. Probably. But the problem is with that AI David wouldn't have the actual experience to take a look at certain things and notice, the way certain things connect. I don't know that this platform would have the actual experience necessarily based, if they were just cloning me from my content, that version of me wouldn't have the experience to have a conversation that's actually helpful and that sort of thing in a good productive way, right? Like that AI wouldn't have the same level of knowledge about things. And look, most of you guys are so much smarter about a lot of this than I am, that they would be better off to clone one of you via AI. It's one of those weird things that, one of the weird things that I get emails about, these offers, these opportunities, whatever. And it concerns me, that's where we are in society, is that we would rather have an AI friend, partner, whatever, rather than talking to actual other people. And that makes me super sad. Which I guess is kind of a good segue into why we're here. The topic of today's video anyway, is about keeping track of interactions that we have with those people around us. So in this live stream here in a little bit, we're actually going to take a look at Nametag. Over the last few live streams anyway, we've come into these very blind. We've come into these with no experience whatsoever. And I think a few weeks ago I saw a post, I believe it was Matto, again the developer of Nametag, that posted something on Reddit about this, about Nametag, and I took a look at it and I messed around with it a little bit, and so we're not coming into this completely blind. I do already have a version of this set up. That said, I have questions about how I set my stuff up, and so that's hopefully something that the developer, if he's still around when we get to that, can maybe answer some of these questions for me, as far as the actual intended method by which I'm adding people, and we'll get to that. But basically, Nametag, I guess, since we're here, is a personal relationship manager. If you've been around for a while, a year, 2 years ago, I don't even remember, we took a look at a similar project called Monica. Let me see if I can find when we talked about it here on the channel. Oh my gosh. These are very much unrelated. This is me. Tutorial deployment guide for Monica called PRM, which is great. But this is Monica's story about surviving a stroke. Though it says this is a video about the Monica PRM software. So, that's AI for you. But yeah, I did cover it. It looks like back in 2021. It looks like that's when we covered it. It was back in 2021. and there's the video that I made about it. And my understanding is apparently that Monica has not necessarily been doing a lot of updates. There we go. Let's take a look here. At least not in on the GitHub repository, though this was updated 8 days ago. And that's kind of what's going on there. I appreciate that hub.docker.com is adding this vulnerability thing here. But anyway, what I want to talk about today is not Monica. I just wanted to make reference to it. If you're familiar with Monica, we're talking about the same kind of thing, a personal relationship manager. It says right here, Nametag is active or under active development, may introduce breaking changes between releases. Please read the release notes carefully before updating to ensure a smooth upgrade process. I always appreciate when a developer puts that up at the very, very top. Very often I'll see these buried a little bit. And I kind of get why I think some people might be not intimidated, but put off by the idea that something is in active development. And that things might change, but that is the nature of development and code refactoring and those sorts of things. So, but again, I appreciate that this is very front and center. It's kind of the first thing you get to beyond the files up at the top. Nametag is a personal relationship manager that helps you remember the people in your life and how they're connected, track birthdays, contact information, how people are connected, and visualize your network as an interactive graph. So that's kind of the idea. You can get a kind of a little visualization, what's going on there, that sort of thing. Let me scroll back up. I've moved on and I apologize again. Brains being a little dumb the last week or so. That says getting cloned. I think the world can't handle two of me at the same time. I can hardly handle dealing with myself some days, bro. I feel that in my soul. You really can still your soul. Yeah, it really does look like it. I appreciate the compliment there, Ryan, saying that I think non-AI David's pretty helpful. I appreciate that. Using an AI tool as a complete project is far different than looking for human connection. That's true too. Cloning me would terrify my kids. They can barely put up with one of me, right? I would love to do that just to mess with some people sometimes. Yeah, I feel like this AI is just a way to get and sell more of your personal data, telemetry on steroids, pretty much. Okay, so Matt says the issue with Monica is that it's not being very well maintained for a while. Honestly, I wanted to work with it, so I didn't have to create this myself, but here we are. It's funny because I think you actually said something about that almost verbatim, not quite verbatim, in your post on Reddit. When somebody asked you to compare it to Monica, I think you said something really, really similar to that. Ryan McHale, yeah, it actually, yeah, we'll get into that a little bit. And we can, and we'll actually see, we'll see how to add people and that sort of thing. So here's a little visualization of what the dashboard might look like with a very small amount of information in it. Jan, thank you for gifting a membership. I really appreciate that. Reducer got that membership. So congrats, Reducer. For the next month or so, you'll get early access to content when I release it. And you'll get the access to the version with no ads in it. So there's that. So yeah, again, Jan, thank you so much for that. I'll close that. So yeah, so basically, this is just a very brief overview. So you've got you know Marty, but Dave, Linda, George, Lorraine, and Jennifer are all some of Marty's friends in this, or whatever in this particular instance. But again, that's just one version of that there. Why name tag? No, I don't care. Sorry. Says we have 100 contacts scattered across social media, phone books. That's a funny word these days. And email. But can you remember when you last talked to an old friend, their kids' names, their birthday? Nametag solves this by giving you a single place to manage your personal network. It's like a CRM, but for your actual relationships instead of sales prospects. We got some more screenshots here where you can kind of see more of this. Like here. Marty is your friend, but then all of these other are in direct relationships via Marty there. And let's see, features. Again, we'll get into looking at this ourselves here just a little bit. We got features where you can track people with flexible attributes, name, birthday, important dates, and notes for everything else. Map relationships between people, family, friends, colleagues. You visualize your network with interactive graphs, organize contacts into custom groups. I hadn't actually played with that at all, so that'll be interesting to look at. Set reminders for important dates and staying in touch. Full dark mode support, love that. Multiple languages, mobile responsive design, and multi-platform Docker support. So basically desktop CPUs, including server, obviously, as well as ARM64. So that's awesome. There's a hosted service if you want to go that route, or there's a self-hosted version. Of course, that's what we're going to look at. You can also run Nametag on your own infrastructure for free with these benefits: no account limits, no email service required, complete data ownership and privacy, free forever. This guide covers the self-hosting setup. And basically we've got a Docker Compose here. But I feel like there's something missing there. And I want to look at this real quick. Yeah. So, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I don't normally do that, but I'm going to pop that open, this Docker Compose open into a new tab that we'll come back and take a look at in a moment. Because if we scroll down to the Docker Compose here, we've got a Postgres database. We've got the app itself that depends on env file. We've got a cron container. We've got some volumes. What I don't see in this version, in the Markdown file here, versus what I do see over here is Redis. It looks like maybe this has been updated. The Docker Compose.yaml file has been updated, but there's also a backup here as well. So maybe we've got a minimal version on the homepage versus the Docker Compose that is a bit more complete. Maybe that's the difference. And then we've got volumes and networks down here, so that we can, have data persistence and networks so that they can all talk to each other more easily. So we've got a couple of different ways we can deploy this. I think probably the better way to go about this is the full-blown version, so that you get all of the perks and benefits of everything going on here. Again, like with the Redis and with the backup. I think those are great. I think it's good to have those in there. And of course, cron, it's going to do things for sending reminders and purging deleted things, it looks like. But let's see. Let me come back up here. I see some stuff going on. Always appreciate so much when the developer joins the live videos. Yeah, I agree. I really appreciate that, because there's going to be times where I'm not going to understand something, and I love having the actual developer here to connect those dots for me, and of course you guys as well when you've got questions that they can answer. Matthias. I don't know what you prefer to go by. I probably should have asked that earlier. It says Redis is not there on purpose, as it's more for the hosted service. Does not make much sense for the self-hosted version, but I should explain that better in the docs. Taking notes. That's awesome. I appreciate that. I think having that in Matto is fine. Awesome. Thank you for that. Yeah, it would be good to have it kind of broken out, for hosted versus self-hosted, so that the user might have a better understanding what they should be using to get the best possible outcomes here. So, sorry, my nose is really itchy today. Sometimes I get a little mustache hair that like flicks up and pokes me in the nose and I can't find it. And I look like I've been doing coke all night, and I haven't, I promise. But yeah. So we've got our Docker Compose here, and I think if we scroll up, there's probably going to be an env file here as well that we can come in and take a look at. So environment variables for this development notes, go to dev container, local development, that's fine. For the database host, localhost, for deploying this in Docker, that would have to be changed. And the reason for that is the database host here, if we use this Docker Compose, would actually be DB instead of localhost. At least if you're putting this on a Linux machine. My experience is putting localhost here usually fails. But maybe that has changed enough over the last few years that I've just been doing this wrong. Or the old way. Maybe things have changed and I've missed that. But it's been my experience that the database host always needs to be whatever the database app name effectively is right here. We'll get into that a little bit later. The port for the database name, username, password. Of course, you'd want to change certain things there as necessary, specifically the password. And of course, if you got special characters in the database password, you want to wrap that in quotes. Otherwise, it will break things. It's just kind of the nature of the beast there. Next off, URL. I think I had to change this again from localhost to the IP address where I had this deployed. Again, like it says up there, you'd also change it to like yourdomain.com if you're putting it on a URL. Next off, secret. Of course, you could run this command in your terminal and get a 32 character secret that you could put there for better data encryption or whatever there. The email that you verified with resend. So resend is an option for an API key if you're going that route, or it looks like you can also use SMTP here, which is probably the route I would go. But I know that some people don't want to give Gmail any of their business, their traffic, their data, whatever. I get that. So that's an option. Or of course, I say that you could self-host your own email if you wanted to go that route. If you're an insane person, you could do that as well. However, I don't hate myself that much. Like, don't get me wrong, but not that much. So I would use probably Gmail for that. We got cron jobs. Again, you can basically run that same command as earlier, just 16 characters there, minimum for the cron secret. We've got an app configuration, so node environment. If you need to change that to development, you change this. Log level info. Of course, there are other options up here as well for logging things. Registration control. Disable registration. It looks like it's set to true by default. And then you would enable this to set disabled registration, set that to false. Redis and rate limiting and caching. Looks like you can handle all of that right here. So again, if you need to go that route, have at. So yeah, that's kind of the setup process. It's really straightforward, all things considered, which I always appreciate. Let's go ahead and deploy it real quick, just so we can kind of see what that looks like. I want to come down here. So yeah, we will definitely need an env file, and it looks like we've got a simplified version of that as well. So that's awesome. Let's come over to here. We've got our Proxmox set up here. We're gonna drop it into this container or this LXC. Maybe there we go. Let's get logged in. Clear our screen. Let's take a look. Nothing in there. So I'm going to make a directory. I'm going to call it Nametag. And then I'm going to cd into Nametag, because that's what you do. So first thing is I'm going to do a nano compose.yaml. right? Pretty straightforward stuff. Again, we're going to go with the simplified version of this. And then we're just going to paste this in. And I don't think there's anything in here I need to change. There's nothing else running on here, so this is fine. And then, of course, we'll also do nano.env. And then we'll come back over to here and we'll grab the stuff out of this env file right there. We're going to paste this. Not really going to change anything here because, again, this is just for demonstrative purposes. What I am going to change here, though, is this to 192.168.0.244 because that's the IP address of the LXC that we're going to use for this. Again, I should change this and this based on all of this information. And again, if I wanted to set up email, all of that is available down here, whether we wanted to use resend or an SMTP server of our desire. So let me save and exit that. Vaz says, man, my OCD is weird. My OCD is just texting me saying, don't you miss the blinking lights on the mini rack behind that were there on last Saturday? Yeah, it's been I think it's been 3 weeks that we've had this B-Link up here. And I've kind of shut down everything else that is there. As much as fun as that was, all of the hard drives that were in those mini PCs are currently here on my desk. I have other plans for them. So even if I wanted to turn them back on, they would probably blink a lot, but they would be wasting even more electricity than they were before, because there's no storage in them. So, I apologize. But that's why is I took all the hard drives out of them for other videos I've got coming up. Again, like the B-Link that I need to cover. And I've got another NAS over here. Sorry, I spent too long inside data centers of attractive blinking lights. I get it, man. I do. I kind of enjoyed having them there as well, but yeah, no, needed that storage for something else. That collaboration has been over for a while. That's the stack that I used for the Ubuntu project, the Canonical project with their little mini server. So, their micro cloud, that's what it was called. Really took me a minute to get there. Micro cloud was what I did with that. And now that project is over, I needed to move some things around. I must be down for maintenance. Sort of, yeah. Like I said, I needed storage. I needed some of the NVMEs for that B-Link, and then I've got a TerraMaster device over here that also needed some of that storage that I still haven't done yet. So that's why there's not as many blinky lights back there. There's this one. This is, I could probably maybe turn this. We could give you a couple of little blinky lights. There's I guess I could sit out of the way. We could get some blinky lights that way. This mini PC right here that I just turned around is actually my grandmother's. She had a computer that she had bought from Best Buy that was just, she spent too much on it. Like the people at Best Buy really took advantage of her. Not Best Buy as a whole, but the person that she spoke with oversold her on a device several years ago that was just, it was way underpowered for even the basic stuff that she wanted to do. A Chromebook would have fit her needs better than what she was sold. So anyway, so I sent her this. This is actually a badass little device. It's a Minis Forum. It's got a Ryzen 9 in it. It's got 32 gigs of RAM. It's got a couple of terabytes of hard drive space in it. I threw Windows 11 on it, shipped it to her. Was like, here, just use this. She's been using it for a while. It's been great. She's only had one other issue with it, but like she's actually super tech savvy and explored all of her options before she called me. We finally got to the bottom of it, got it fixed. I remoted into the system when it was still in Idaho. But she reached out to me recently and she's like, "Hey, like when I powered up the computer this morning, it took me to the BIOS screen." And I was like, "Cool, show me these other screens." And it looked like the drives were just gone. I was like, "What happens if you reboot?" She rebooted, took a picture. It was the same thing. Took her right back into the BIOS. So she shipped it to me this last week, and I got it. It actually showed up a day early. Popped the bottom of it off. Everything looked fine. Nothing had come unseated. It's got, I think, one slot for NVMe and two slots for 2.5-inch drives. Everything was seated. Everything was still plugged in. Everything looked fine. So I put it back together. I plugged it into the KVM that I've got back there, remoted in. It powered up just fine. It rebooted a couple of times because Windows was trying to go into restore mode. Excuse me. And then when it did that, it was fine. No issues at all. But it turns out that it was probably a Windows 11 update that came out recently that has borked some computers. Imagine that. Anyway, did some updates on it. I've just been letting it sit idle. I've rebooted it several times. It's been fine, so it's probably going back in the mail. But you might get a blinky light there if I move to the side, more blinky lights. So there you go. Yeah, so let's come back over to here real quick. Richard Sorensen says, "You're great. Thanks. Appreciate that." Cool. So here's our env file that we just copied and pasted in. Again, I should change the database password. I should change the next auth secret and the cron secret, but I'm not going to because this is just for demonstrative purposes. Again, Collins is here. That's awesome. Thanks so much, man. Glad to have you here. We're deploying. We're deploying Nametag. We've copied and pasted our Docker Compose in the simplified version, and we just edited the env file, and that's kind of where we are. And then we got sidetracked on blinky lights because sometimes you got to talk about blinky lights. But anyway, that's kind of where we are. So at this point, I should, in theory, be able to save and exit. We'll clear our screen again and then do like a Docker Compose up-D. And then it's just going to pull everything, the cron, the DB, and the app. Should pull all of this. And then here in a moment, we should be able to go take a look at what that first login page looks like. And again, like I mentioned earlier, I started looking at this a couple of weeks ago when Matto had posted about it over on Reddit. And then I just kind of got sidetracked. And then the last week, if I'm being honest, has been a dumpster fire. And I'm trying to work through that. My wife and I both are. So I haven't been as active in taking a look at Docker containers and that sort of thing. But I was actually chatting with Ethan Shawley yesterday about the newsletter that he released, and I was looking at the new apps section, and there were 31 apps, and only 7 of them didn't have the AI icon next to them, which means most of them are AI adjacent. And he's like, hey, obviously don't discredit that. There are still several that come through on a regular basis that are great. And I was like, cool. If you find one, point me in that direction. And he's like, hey, there's Nametag. And I was like, oh yeah, I looked at that. And so I guess for a bit more transparency, and Matto, please correct me if I'm wrong. There is some AI involved in the development of of Nametag. I believe that my understanding, anyways, there was AI involved in part of the process of developing Nametag. Now that said, while you're answering that, if you're still around, I actually want to. Oops, damn! I can't type today. Man, you can't see my screen on purpose. Actually, I want to come over to here. I want to mute that. I also want to mute that. We don't need my audio coming through twice. So we're going to take a look at this real quick. We're going to do this. So if we come back over to here, this is Matto's website, blog, whatever you want to call it, it was actually, I had to come here to try to find contact information to reach. I was trying to reach out to Matt yesterday, and I had found this JavaScript down there. Well done on that to help obfuscate that from bots. Well done, I dig that. But then I was like, oh well, there's a LinkedIn. Let's go look at the LinkedIn real quick. And of course, it's going to do this. Why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't it make my life more difficult? Let's sign in. Hold on. We're gonna get there. So when we get signed in, we're gonna what? Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Of course, then I got to come back over to here and we're gonna open this back up. Now, the reason I bring this up, and I normally wouldn't go this route, but because there's AI involved, right? Right. So he confirms, yes, there's AI involved. Honestly, there would be no name tag otherwise. I don't have the time it requires to make it all, sadly. Cool. Thank you for that transparency. The reason I want to bring this up, the reason I brought it up, and the reason that I'm coming over here to LinkedIn is to help viewers who are not familiar with Matto here. Matto is in Madrid, in Spain. I've always wanted to go there. I've always thought it would be kind of neat. But if we scroll down, please understand that while Matto is using AI, I truly believe that his resume speaks for itself, and that if he were to see code that wasn't up to snuff or wasn't done correctly, that he'd be able to recognize that. As a senior software engineer for the home client platform backend of Spotify in Madrid, Spain, also. Backend API development with Python and Django, DevOps with Amazon Web Services, again, DJ onboard SDK, Python, C++. I believe that based on the resume that I'm seeing here on LinkedIn, that if AI, in fact, I think in this case, pretty sure it's Claude code that I saw here. I believe that if Claude were to spit something out that was wrong, that was insecure, that was malicious, whatever, I believe that Matto's experience here would qualify him to recognize that and fix accordingly. So that's why I wanted to bring up this. It's not to try to dox Matto. It's to say, hey, look, yes, he used AI, but he's one of those cases where this is a very experienced developer using AI to expedite his coding practice. And I don't have a problem with that because of the experience here. So again, I wanted to bring that up to quantify why I think in this case AI being used is perfectly acceptable. So there's the little statement there. So it looks like we've deployed effectively here. So in theory, I should be able to go over to do this. Oops, and go to port 3000. And hey, look, there we are. You brought that up, but didn't discuss zombie unicorn. I'm not familiar with that. I'm curious, but I hope that Googling this won't isn't going to get me. Oh, Matto showed it in his. Okay, my bad. Let me come back over to here because I'm definitely I don't know what zombie unicorn is. Oh, a video game developer. Okay. Self-employed. Cool. I wish I had more knowledge of what that was. It sounds good. So that's cool. Again, I don't have any knowledge of that. So thank you for calling my attention to it. No, it's a great name. I love the name. Matto says there's been a big shift in our field, and it seems like it's going to be like this from now on. We have to adapt to survive. I believe that, but I also I'm glad that you've got the experience behind it to be able to recognize good code versus bad code. You're not going to find much about it. It was a small video game group that we created but never finished the games we started. That's unfortunate, but I get it. Yeah, here we are. We're on our Nametag homepage here, and so I guess the first question I've got. Oops, let me come back over to here. So this doesn't come with a pre-installed, pre-built, pre-whatever admin account. Is that correct? By creating the first account, does that then become our admin account? I feel like that's how I experienced it when I deployed it a few weeks ago, but I know that things can change. When I go to the URL in question, it just asks me to either log in or create an account. So I assume then the first account we create would be our admin account. I'm going to scroll through here and make sure I'm not missing anything. Email setup optional. Lots of great documentation. I really dig this. That's correct. You have to create your account first. Okay. Some people will have, admin@example.com and change me. So just wanted to clarify that. Name's David. Last name, is B. Nickname is DB Tech. Reviews.com. And then we'll click sign up, and then we'll get logged in. So, as long as I did that, we're good. All right, so here we go. This is our dashboard. Matto says there's no admin account as such. It's your account only, and other people can create theirs. Cool. So from here, we're on our dashboard. We can create our first person. We've got our people list. We've got our groups list. Maybe you've got a group for work. You've got a group for friends. You've got a group for relatives. Maybe you could do that sort of thing. Maybe you've got a church group, or maybe you're into disc golf. You want to put all of those people in a group. You can create groups that way. We've got relationship types: acquaintance, child, colleague, friend, other, parent, partner, relative, sibling, or spouse. And of course, you can create new types from here as well. And then settings. So again, name, appearance. We've got some different themes. Nice. Look at the relationship types button, all broken. Got to fix that. Oh, look, here's the thing about this. My screen resolution is currently at 1080p. And then I've got something running to, I can't think of what it's called. I've got Power Toys running to help me create kind of a fenced off area so that like if I drag this out, it probably, yeah, see there it's fine. But I've got it set up. No, wrong button. So that I can do this, and then my face stays in the right spot with this new layout thing I've done. Let's see. Okay, being a nerd, I could see this using for my kids' D&D game. Absolutely, keeping track of the NPCs they meet. That's a brilliant idea. I loved that. Great idea there, Geeky Dad 007. Vaz says, might be ahead of the curve, and DB Tech speaks about it later, but is there a way to lock registrations? I believe in the environment variables. Yeah, there's an environment variable where you can disable registration. disable the user registration after the first user. So yeah, if you were to do that, you would definitely want to add the disable_registration environment variable and set that to true. It says it disables user registration after the first user. So you could set that to true and then create your account. You'd be good to go. Love that that's in there. But no, so also Matto, great documentation here. Again, you've gone through all of the different things, I mean, that I've seen so far and talked about them. You've got like, hey, for Gmail, you're going to use this port. Like, of course, all of them are going to be 587, but I appreciate you having so much of this already available in your documentation rather than people having to go look up, well, what port does this work on or whatever. So well done. Really, really appreciate what you've got going on there. Again, more information down there. Let's come back over to here. Light theme, dark theme. Usually write the documentation for yourself. And that's the best way to write it, right? Is to write the documentation the way you would want to read it. That's usually the right way to write it. Some people are way too technical when they do that. And you basically have to have a master's degree in computer science to read documentation on some apps, but I think you found a really good balance there. So we've got theme, we've got light theme, dark theme. Light theme is blinding white. Again, I get it. It is what it is. Language, English, Spanish, Japanese, I believe, Norwegian and German. Of course, I know those are called other things, but it is what it is. Date format. I like that you've got different options here as well. For us Americans, we use month, day, year, which I go so back and forth. I really think day, month, year makes more sense, but we've been programmed as Americans to use it month, day, year for so long. Sorry, I'm trying to multitask here and it's not working well. I think we should do day, month, year, not month, day, year. It makes more sense to do it the other way. But again, Americans have been programmed for so long to do it the other way. Richard Sorensen says, just a personal note. Oh, maybe, I mean, you've written it there. You have I've mentioned you in a video before. I'm glad for it. You're like a pop star for me. Many issues have been resolved because of you. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. You probably said something that was helpful. If I mentioned you in a note or a video, if I did that, it's because you contributed in a way that I found meaningful. And I always try to acknowledge where my help comes from, because I couldn't do this if you guys weren't steering me in the right direction a lot of times. So let's see. We've got password. So current password, new password, account, export, import. We're doing that via JSON files. I don't have any data to export, so nothing to export there. Going back to security, Matto, are we considering two-factor authentication at any point? I know that some people would really like to have that. Or some sort of like OIDC. Again, I know that this is kind of a side hustle, a side project, whatever for you, but I'd be curious about what other authentication things you might be adding, again, for two-factor authentication or OIDC. So I'm sure other people would be curious about that as well. 2FAs on your list. Awesome. OIDC too. Brilliant. Glad to hear that. And then we've got version information. Current version, again, this is version 0.18.0. This is very early. So, you know, like you mentioned in your GitHub, this is early development and things may change. So be aware of that. Right. You're also working on CardDAV. That's great. So that's great. I love hearing that. And again, I know that was a big request over on Reddit, was CardDAV. So I think that will be a huge thing to help people bring in a lot of people very, very quickly and efficiently. So love that. So that's kind of everything we've got here. So if we come over to dashboard, we can create our first person. Make me see. All right. So let's say I wanted to create, creating people one by one is a pain. It can be a good time though, if you catch the pun. Okay. So let's say I wanted to add a person to my relationship manager here, right? Let's add my wife. Her name is Rachel. She shares the last name as me, but I'm just going to put in her last initial, right? Her nickname is Mrs. DB Tech. Known through me. Yep, that's true. So relationship to you, she is my spouse. Okay, we're gonna last contact. We can say last contact was today. Remind me to catch up. I think she'd be mad if I only contacted her once a month. I feel like that would be an issue. Important dates. We can add anniversary here. Anniversary, and that is we're doing month, day, year. So 0509 2016. Sure. Remind me once a year, starting from the specified date. I guess a question that I would have here is on this reminder, how far in advance does it send said reminder? For like birthdays, for anniversaries, those kinds of things. Are we sending them a day in advance? Are we sending them a week in advance? How far in advance are these reminders going out? Would be a question that I would have there. I'm going to click add there. So we've created her. I'm going to click create. She's been added to my network, and there is me. There is her. And of course we can move that around. I think one thing that I would like to see here, it may already be on your roadmap as well. Cool. You're working on having to. Okay, so we can then assess how far in advance. Cool. Glad that that's on the list. Also, I would like to see the ability to add a picture of the person. Obviously, I'm going to recognize her most days, depending on my brain, or maybe I've come out of a coma or something. But having a picture of said person would be nice to do here as well. Just a thought. I'm sure. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So now let's do something else. Pictures are on the way too, man. You're on it, man. I love it. So I'm going to add one more person here. Right. And I'm actually going to add her cousin, Katie. I'm going to do that. Known through Rachel. Now, in this case, a relationship to Rachel, I feel like this may have changed since I first deployed this. I feel like this wasn't, maybe I missed it. This would be other family relative. Yeah, that would be right. Okay. And then we actually talked to her. It was actually, I think, yesterday. We'll just do that. We'll click create. Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to wrap my head around how some of this. Ben, dude, snack time's here. That's Ben. If you haven't checked out his content, you should. Again, as I've said several times before, he is the less this version of me. So puts out great content in the self-hosted arena as well, that is much more calm and put together than I am. And this is me on meds. So there you go. All right, other relationships. All right, so here, if I click that, do other relationships. Yeah, I feel like I have. I feel like something has changed since I deployed the other version of this. Maybe let me actually take a look at that, because maybe you've answered some of the questions that I have had about some of this. Click show. An easier way to create relationships for your wife would be going to her details page and creating them from there. Okay, that's good to know. We're gonna take a look at that here in just a second. Oh, right, that was that password. There we go. Because here's the more built-out version of this. What I want to do is actually go to settings, and I want to go to the about information. This is okay. So I installed version 0.14, and now we're on version 0.18. So that's why things probably look different. I actually want to go to people. I want to add a person known through Amanda. Okay, maybe not. Maybe I just didn't pay attention to this. Yeah, a lot has changed. Okay, that's good. But you kind of get the idea. So if we go to here, right, and if I wanted to create here, other relationships, add a relationship friend, child, interesting. Search for a person, add a relationship. Oh, we're adding. Okay, sorry. I'm just kind of looking here. This is that, right? It's fine. Yeah. So add relationship here. Relationship type, let's say child. Search for person. She's not in the results because you're on her own page. Okay. So I guess I'm not understanding. Oh. So if somebody was already in here, then I could add them to that relationship here. This doesn't give me the option to add a person from here. Okay, I gotcha. If somebody was already there. Okay, so it'd be creating a relationship between her and someone else. Okay, that makes more sense. Okay, cool. That says, you can see the resemblance. You guys are not brothers or something. Nope. We've never, to my knowledge, been in the same room. But yeah, no, there's definitely a resemblance there. Okay, let's try this again. Let's add a relationship. We're gonna add a child. We're just gonna search. We're gonna do that. Oh, I see. So from here, you can click create. I gotcha. Okay. If not the results, okay. It just took me a second to get there. That's cool. Yep. So relationship to her is child. Last contact. Okay. That's all making sense. I think when I was going through this originally, maybe I just wasn't reading. I just wasn't reading the context clues to this sort of thing. So we click create. There we go. So we come back to dashboard. So I could also, I could do, so if I click here, he is technically my kid as well. So relationship type, let's say parent, person, that's me. So in this case, because I'm on Gage's page, if I were to add a relationship type in that person, that would make me his parent, if I understand how that works correctly. Because this confused me when I see this, but seeing it in relationship or because it shows me here. So if I come over to like my page, then I would think, interesting. Gage child. Okay, sorry. I'm just trying to like make my brain make sense of this, and this. Now that I'm seeing it this way, it's starting to make more sense. So we can continue to add more and more people. It is a different version of it. I don't know, Matto, if you want to explain that, since this is your project. Basically, Matta wanted to use it. Matta wanted to use Monica, found it a little heavy in certain areas, a little unnecessarily complicated, and started working on this to have a different version of it. I don't know if Monica has the networking, the network mapping version of it here. But again, the other day, again, it's been a couple of weeks. It's been since version 0.14.1, whenever that was. Here we can kind of see, some of the, there we go. So parent, step parent. Yeah. So this is kind of the network that I have built out here. And I feel like I have, like here I think I've got some of these backwards because of my misunderstanding of this, right? Because I am not the parent, I am the child. Relationship to you is parent. Okay. Maybe that's what was confusing me. Aunt to that person, Diane, parent of these people. It all makes sense when I look at it here, but in my brain, the diagrams don't necessarily help me. Because like here it's saying parent, like Andy B, which was my dad's name, is the parent of me. But this, with the way this arrow is, you can't see that I'm pointing at my screen here, also looks like it is like he is the parent of Diane. Okay, okay. Then maybe what I need to do is just update this. It was fixed after that. Okay, look, thank you. I struggled so much with that as I was going through and building things out that I thought I was genuinely dumber than I thought. And I don't mean to say that to be disrespectful. I don't mean I'm glad that was a bug, because I genuinely thought I was doing something incredibly wrong. And so I'm glad you're here to tell me that was a bug. Oops. So we're going to come back over to here real quick. Did I actually deploy this in? No, I wouldn't have done that. Hold on, let me exit. Oops. Let me log in as root. I may have done that here. ls. Yeah, all right. So we're going to cd into Nametag. All right. ls-a. All right. We're going to do docker compose pull. We're going to repull some stuff. It's harder problem than it seems. It was reported by user. Okay. So, okay. That actually genuinely makes me feel better, because I was concerned that I may have been having a stroke or something, because the way the arrows were pointing had me so confused. I don't mean to keep harping on it, but it was really, really, it was messing with me. And I think that's part of the reason I walked away from it after that. Maybe that was the thing, was like, I was so confused by it then. But cool. I'm glad we got there. Thank you. I'm genuinely glad you're here to tell me that. Cause like the new version seems, everything's pointing the right direction. What I don't know is if the bug stored it right. Ethan, bro, thank you so much for gifting 5 memberships. Really super appreciate that. I want to export everything. Cool. Let's come back over to here and go to settings, and then import. We're going to import that. We're going to go to my downloads folder. There's that. We're going to confirm that import. Let's see what happens here. Cool. Successfully imported 15 people and 16 custom relationship types. Neat. Let's go look here. Whew. All right, let's take a look. Hey, this is still, this is still showing Andy as being the parent of Diane in the diagram. So maybe there was something in there that translated over. If we go to here, child of Diane. Okay, that seems to be fine there. I'm going to click save. Other relationships. Relationship. Yep. Cool. Child, grandparent. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, now that's fine. All right, let's see. Ben asks, off topic, did you decide to switch over to Dockhand over Portainer? I didn't. I ran into some issues so there was a couple of different containers that I tried to redeploy using Dockhand via the Docker Composes files that I have in my Git repository that I had attached to Dockhand. And I kept running into an issue where if the container in question was using a Docker volume, it wouldn't use the existing Docker volume, and it kept creating new Docker volumes, basically making it so that my previous when I would restore basically from there, it was creating new Docker volumes rather than using the old Docker volumes. I think I said that, but not very well. So every time I would try, it was like a new installation versus reusing the existing Docker volume, and it was frustrating. So I walked away from it. Let's see. Must have been stored correctly. Okay, weird. I wasn't watching. It got gifted a sub. Well, cool. I'm glad you got one. Could also be a helpful tool with genealogy research. Can give a quick visual overview and then use Gramps for the rest. Pretty much. You may have to manually update the relationships. That's possible. Just using Dockhand for the container metrics while I get Grafana set up. I handle Docker Compose with a script I made with multiple hosts. That's cool. I've been thinking the same. It'd be nice to have the ability to export your network as a genealogy tree. Yeah. No, that would be very cool. But yeah, look, it very well, like the issue that I was having with Dockhand and my Git repository, it could be something in my Docker Compose files that's not necessarily like explicitly declaring that the volume already existed. That could be the issue. As I was messing with it, I didn't stick with it long enough to do the research to see if there was something in the volume declaration of the Docker Compose that would allow me to say, hey, this already exists. If that's the case, then it might not be a big deal. That said, if you're using mapped volumes, like, to point to, a specific directory on your Docker server, it's probably going to be fine. But yeah, that's just kind of where things have been. I tested it out a little bit, but didn't fully switch over because of the issue I was having with Docker volumes and got sidetracked. So. Jason says, don't sleep on Arcane. If Dockhand doesn't work for you, you want to move from Portainer. I'm actually, we did a live stream on Arcane last year, or maybe even the year before. I don't remember anymore. And it looked really good. And I really should just do a dedicated video on it. But that involves me having the brain space to actually do something. Let's see if this is updated. I didn't actually compose down and Docker compose -d. Well, we've pulled new versions of everything on the old one that I had running, just so we can kind of see. But yeah, this is what my what my build out looks like. Um, yeah, so like a lot of this looks very correct. I love being able to see all of this. I think it's very cool to be able to actually get a visualization of how like how I know these different people. Um, oh, right, that is correct. Yeah. Um, Personally, I tried a lot of these tools and I used Portainer for a long time, but ended up using plain old Docker Compose in the terminal. I've done a lot of that. I would say probably half of my containers get deployed in command line in the terminal, whatever nomenclature you want to use there. But sometimes I want to be lazy and go look at the logs in a GUI. So a lot of times my stuff will get deployed in the command line, and then I'll go look at the logs in Portainer. I know that I can do a Docker logs container name -f to follow. But sometimes I just like to have a nice graphical user interface to look at things in. Let's refresh. Hey there, look, we're updated. The update went successfully. Looks good. So there you go. But yeah, so let's if we come into here. Okay, nice. So from there you can kind of see. That's pretty cool that you can pick somebody and double click them, or I guess just single click them, and yeah, okay, it actually seems to be correct. Grandparent, child, parent, parent. Nice. I think some of it somehow got fixed, so that's cool. Let's come back and click on me there. Yeah. So no, I really dig the platform. I think this is a big step in having a personal relationship manager that makes sense. Like it's nice to have something like Monica, but I don't remember it having a diagram like this. But yeah, I think if you're able to go in and add things, like pictures, the two-factor authentication, the OIDC, give us the option, like when we're looking at like this, for instance, for the notifications, it would be nice if I could say like, look, I want to get notified a month in advance of my anniversary, right? Or a couple of weeks in advance for a birthday. It'd be nice to be able to customize all of that. Maybe not on a personal level. That could be, I feel like it could be a coding nightmare. But again, I'm not a developer, so I don't know. But having the ability to adjust when I get notifications about things, and again, adding a picture would be neat. If you could take it a step further, and actually have the picture show up in these diagrams, I think that would be neat. Again, I don't know what that looks like from a coding perspective, but being able to see all of the faces on the diagram here I think that'd be really awesome. I was building the diagram using Obsidian at first, but remember thinking there must be something better and easier than this. I still have never used Obsidian. I've heard a lot of things. Yeah, I think it's yep. The pictures as the nodes. Yeah. I've never used Obsidian. I've seen it a lot. I've heard a lot of people talking about it. But I've never used it, and I probably should. I think if I actually took the time, and I think I could have to set up an Obsidian sync node so that each of my instances could like synchronize. I would probably love the hell out of it. But I've never actually looked into it. But yeah, if you could have people as nodes, that would be awesome. That would make visualization even more intriguing, I think. Um, sorry. So, okay. So here's a random idea, right? If you want to chat Obsidian, let me know. I may, because like I've been kicking around. I've been kicking around the idea for a while, um, but again, have never done it. So Matto, I have a question, right? Let's say, let's say, for instance, um, like I've got me here in the middle, and let's say Mrs. DB Tech created an account, right? If I set this up so that she could create an account on here, how how hard would it be to um to make it so that like if I wanted to come over here and be like um connect this to her account, so you know where I'm going, right? So that then she could, in theory, if she wanted to share what she has built out, from her family of or whatever, if she was adding people, that it would then show her connections as well. Um, I don't know how tedious that would be, or what the implications of that would be from coding. From, I mean, if you're setting this up and letting your friends or your family or whatever log in and create accounts here, I feel like there would be I feel like you would want to have something in there, not easy to implement, but totally see the value. Okay, because it was like, as I was looking at this, it was like, well, if she could log in and create her own account and build out her network of people, it would be interesting to see that grow. I really feel like in that case, you would probably want to go over here and use the full deployment of this with all of the additional services. Again, a lot of these live streams that I do when we come into these projects is me having ideas out loud that I have no concept of how they would be implemented. But it was just kind of one of those random thoughts of, if Mrs. DB Tech, created an account, or, if somebody else and they wanted to share that information and really build it out, I think that would be really neat. But then I think there would be a certain amount of, if she were to come in and add, James as her ex-spouse, what would that look like? Because it would be overlapping, right? So how would you consolidate that too? Or how would you consolidate those already existing nodes? Because if she were to add it, it would technically be more correct on her side of things, most likely, than it would be from my side of things, because she's got the direct connection there. So I would be curious about how you which is probably why you mentioned it's not easy to implement, because there's so many different layers to that. Would you then have to have an option to let the sub account, in this case Mrs. DB Tech, like override my data because it's her direct connection, not mine? I can't imagine the complication that would be involved in something like that. So I apologize for bringing that up publicly in such a way that other people may also open that up as an issue or something. I wasn't trying to make your life more complicated. I was just having a thought come out of my mouth before I realized how complicated that might be to rectify. So again, I apologize for that. But here we are. But I really dig it. I love keep it coming. I appreciate the feedback. Again, like just the little things that I've seen between then and now, as far as how certain things are working better in the last few minor revisions. I'm loving this. That's how software grows. Yeah, that's true. Um, but yeah, I think I really dig the I really dig this. I love. Let me see. People. Yep. Yep. All of this is correct. Yep. Indirect. Agreed. Yeah. No, I think this is great. What is? Oh, this is just to view it. All right. That's cool. Like I said, I kind of plugged around with it a little bit a couple of weeks ago. I don't remember exactly when it was. And of course, now I think everything's been modified. So, yeah. And I don't have the dates on that, obviously. But I think this is actually a very cool piece of software. Again, I like to get in on some of these very early. Sometimes too early, maybe. And that's not a dig at you, Matto. I want to be clear about that. But I like to get in on some of these when they're still like in beta mode or beta phase or whatever, so that we can see, where it is now. And then, in 6 months or a year or whatever, take another look at it and see how far it's come, in that time based on feature requests and bug reports and that sort of thing. So I often like to get in early on this kind of stuff, and watch these projects grow, because that's, while I'm not a developer, while I'm never going to contribute to a PR over on GitHub. I love the self-hosted community, both, the people who are developing little one-off projects, or from one-off projects all the way up to different operating systems, like we've looked at, in the last few live streams. And it's cool to be able to have an opportunity to chat with the developers, to find out what their, why they decided to build something, or what their motivation was. I should have, want to see, yeah. I should have linked these in the description of this live stream, and I may still go do that. But like the interactions that you had here from people, it looks like it was very well received. Like tons of comments here, and I know part of those are yours, but people actually wanting to have a conversation about it, and just the interest that people have here. Again, I love the community aspect of it. And again, while I'm not, somebody who's ever going to contribute anything meaningful as far as code is concerned, I guess my contribution is sharing these things to the audience that we've built here, and that sort of thing. And is this? I want to make sure. Yeah, okay. Just wanted to make sure that those were the same accounts. Nametag.1. Yeah, Pablo. I wish I had seen this, or I would have found this font and used it in the thumbnail for this live stream. I found something that was very handwritten looking, but. No, man, do what you got to do. Thank you so much, Matto, for hanging out. Super appreciate you being here and answering questions and being part of the stream. We're going to keep tabs on this. Hopefully, we can stay in touch. So thank you again. Have a great rest of your weekend. I'll talk to you again here at some point. So again, thanks, Matto. Appreciate you being here. But yeah, so I guess my contribution to the self-host community is doing live streams, making content, that sort of thing. So, yeah, I guess that's how I am able to contribute, and yeah, that's where we are. So, do make sure I haven't missed anything there. All right. Is there anything in here that I may have missed that you guys that are still hanging out would like to see? Maybe dig into a little bit. I know that today is a holiday of sorts, so people are kind of coming and going through as we're going through this. But you know, if you've got questions, maybe I can answer the things you wanted to see here. Let me know. We can take a look. If not, we kind of covered everything here that I think we would need to cover with regards to this. So that's kind of where we are, I think. Again, I love the little interaction there with regards to the little network animation thing that happens when the page loads, because it's kind of different every time. It seems like maybe the animation is just a little bit different each time. But no, I think this is great. I'm really excited that we got a chance to look at this. Trying to think if there's anything else. Oops, didn't mean to close that. So I don't know. Anyone here hanging out, lurking in chat, have anything to add? Any questions? Anything like that? Would love to address any of those kinds of things, even if it's not related to this. Of course, happy to chat about that sort of stuff. And if not, that's all right. Today doesn't have to be a 3-hour live stream. We've been at it for about an hour and a half. Yeah, about an hour and a half. So yeah, if nobody has anything, I guess we can wrap up here a little earlier than normal. Again, I understand that today's a holiday, so I wouldn't expect there to be as much of an audience with today being what it is. So, well, cool. Then I guess since we are yeah, happy V-Day. Yep. Glad to have you here, man. So Ashton Duncan says, great show. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Again, coming into this, I wasn't sure if I was going to be up for it, but we got through. Be my Valentine. But I appreciate you guys, spending a little part of your day with me here today, and hanging out and chatting, that sort of thing. Yeah, it looks like we're kind of at a point where maybe we're going to go ahead and wrap up. I'm going to go find something to distract my brain a little bit. I've been playing some Fallout 76. Maybe I'll go jump into that for a little while. Tonight's going to be whiskey and tacos and Deadpool. That's the yearly thing that my wife and I do each year. So yeah, going to do that. Thank you guys for hanging out for a while. I super appreciate you. Again, thanks to Matto for hanging out. Yeah, hopefully my brain will be better, a little better later in the week, and I can make some content that'll be interesting. So yeah, again, thank you guys for hanging out. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. And we'll talk again here real soon, whether it's another video or another live stream. Of course, I always look forward to chatting with you guys when those happen. So thanks so much, and I'll talk to you later. Have a great weekend.